Welcome to the Time to Talk podcast. It is time to talk. Let's just get right into this. Last night, Tuesday night in Detroit, Michigan, Eminem went out on the stump for Kamala Harris in a minor way. He introduced President Obama, Mr. Man of the Hour, right? He introduced Obama out there again for Kamala Harris doing everything. So I wanted to take a look at this and do a couple just little reactions and talk to you about what went on there. I just thought it was kind of the irony of some of the things that were said and how it was said. I just really let's just go with it. Let's just take a look. So here comes Slim Shady himself.
Detroit.
Shout outs Detroit. I'm not from Detroit. I'm just shouting y'all out from New York.
Look, I wrote down a few things I wanted to say. I love you too. Thank you.
Good thing he wrote them down because it's a lot. Watch.
I'm here tonight for a couple of important reasons. As most of you know, the city of Detroit and the whole state of Michigan mean a lot to me.
It's touching.
And going into this election, the spotlight is on us more than ever, and I think it's important to use your voice. So I'm encouraging everybody to get out and vote, please. I also think that people shouldn't be afraid to express their opinions. And I don't think anyone wants an America where people are worried about retribution or what people will do if you make your opinion known. I think Vice President Harris supports a future for this country where these freedoms and many others will be protected and upheld.
Really? You mean the same Harris that's currently part of the Democratic machine that's insisting on suppression of speech and working with the technology companies and the social media platforms so they can shut down anyone who says anything, against their narratives, whether it be something like a medical pandemic of some sort plaguing the world or specifically our country, or, and some medical advice that's being given to people and, telling people what to do with their bodies when it comes to these medicines and things, and or maybe how people feel about Israel and Palestine and, who says what about either side. You mean like protecting those free speeches? No retribution towards these people? You mean people won't be deplatformed and shut down and possibly persecuted? According to Hillary Clinton and Biden and John Kerry and plenty of others. Tim Walz, First Amendment we shouldn't even have it. So how is this? I'm going to just call him a clown in this moment because this is clown shit, right? I like Eminem, all right? He's got his place in that whole, Mount Rushmore of like MCs. I give Eminem his props. But when they do things like this and they have no idea what they're talking about and they're just uninformed celebrities being used for their celebrity, whatever status, it just irks me, rubs me the wrong way. So him saying that was just dumb.
And here to tell you much.
And wait, and let me even go even further, right? Because this also goes into, this is a guy who built his career and is still playing the same exact card. If you look at his last album, right? This whole Slim Shady versus Marshall Mathers, Eminem, this idea that there's these dual personalities, with him, and he expresses them. And from the beginning, this guy's been vilified by all the entire censorship in the music industry. He's part of that, not the early, late 80s, early 90s part of it, like going back to Luther Campbell and Two Live Crew and then NWA. He's not part of that generation, but later on, he was certainly the guy that came out in rap and was saying things against, very homophobic statements and against gays, lesbians, the whole LGBT community before it was even, had that many letters back then. He was constantly in the news and constantly rubbing everyone the wrong way, and people were constantly coming after him for his voice, and he was fighting for the right to say what he wants, and he kind of uses that in his act and his on his albums, and a lot of the material he creates is him specifically pissing people off because he knows he has a right to do it, and it's been his thing. So that's what I find really ironic here, when suddenly that person becomes like the hero of, whatever, and he's supposed to be the hero, but like these people didn't like this guy for God knows how long. Same thing with Howard Stern. I don't want to go on too long of a thing here and diverge from what I really want to say, but the whole thing with Howard Stern, this is the guy who used to be the absolute like anti-establishment, like they wanted to shut this guy down. They fined him constantly. He built a career on free speech, and then he's like ass kissing the Democrats and Kamala Harris, and he's turned into a complete shell of a person. He's a total loser, a has-been old man who got very lucky. Okay, very lucky later on with this wife of his. I don't know how long, like whatever. She's done as soon as, like, it's just ridiculous what Howard Stern's turned into. And it's the same thing with Bill Maher. Turned into a shell of a person. These are people who used to fight for free speech, and now they are totally just captured by whatever. Anyway, let's watch as M continues, and he introduces the man of the hour.
It's more about that. President Barack Obama.
Here he comes. A little lag in this video here. I'm having some technical issues, so just bear with me on that. You'll see it. Oh, here he comes. Look at the swag on that war criminal. Is that just his natural swag? Is that war criminal? Like, it's more, he's got more swag now that he's a war criminal. It's like, yeah, I've bombed countries. I've killed babies and women. I've signed orders that have... Here he goes.
You fired up? Are you ready to go?
They are quite excited. And that's what Obama brings to the table, That's his role.
I've got to say, let me just say, let me just say,
Go ahead, brother. Let it out. Go ahead, man.
I gotta say, I have done a lot of rallies, so I don't usually get nervous. But I was feeling some kind of way following Eminem. Now I notice my palms are sweaty, knees weak, arms are heavy.
Here we go.
My sweater already, mom's spaghetti. I'm nervous, but on the surface I look calm and ready to drop bombs, but I keep on forgetting.
Oh. Yes, he did just quote Eminem. Wow. Lose yourself. Look, man, this guy, I'm not going to go through the whole Obama thing. I don't want to, but it's just, he is the epitome of perfection when it comes to a political face of a party, just politics in general. I guarantee you the Republicans and every other party wish they had him as representative, right? Because even though he's a war criminal, right, and even though he's part of the same machine with the forever wars and the military-industrial complex, and he's part of that same machinery, and he's just that veneer of goodness and democracy and freedom and hope for people, right? Inside he is what he is, but on the outside he's just perfect. This speech, I watched this and I was, if I was a Democrat, if I didn't know what I know about these people, I'd be moved. It's just the guy talks and people listen. Like E.F. Hutton, the way he goes through this, and I don't think there's a teleprompter. I'm sure he's got notes, but he's not somebody who needed to read off these points. He just freestyles. It just comes off the top of his head. He knows what he's talking about. He probably did some memorization, obviously, about the topic, but he is just going in on this speech. And a lot of it's bullshit. You're going to hear, again, I don't want to go through this whole thing. I choose not to go through the whole Obama speech, but it is, what's going on here? Uh-oh. Technical difficulty. It is fascinating that so many people are swayed by and just listen to, whatever he says, the way even when he stutters and he's just waiting and he's smiling and he's moving, he's just perfect on screen. He's like the best actor of all time. If you really think about it, he's incredible. Anyway, so yeah, that's Eminem introducing Obama and them stumping for Harris. I personally just, I wasn't so into the Eminem thing. Just really kind of just had me like, really, man? You're the one thing that he mentioned out of all the things he could have said regarding Kamala Harris, right? Or, getting out there to vote. He mentions the idea of retribution if you speak up and speak your mind, or don't allow your voice to be heard. And we need to avoid those people. So was the implication that the Trump side was going to do that? Because again, like I've reminded people on this podcast, currently the administration, the woman that you have, that you are voting for, I'm with her. Her boy Biden, the corpse that they just hung out to dry, who's supposed to be still running our country while we're engaged in multiple wars and on the precipice of nuclear destruction and Armageddon. However, these are the people who are currently seeking retribution for those who vocalize their opinions or their dissent or their, the opposite of your narrative, their narrative. So I don't know how that was the thing. And he had to have thought about it, or someone gave him the speech or the talking point. I'm pretty sure it was. And I'm assuming, yes, it's because of the fact that he's been the rapper who was vilified previously for his voice and him allowing himself to say what he wants to say, that they probably tied that together and used him to make that message. Again, this whole thing is just equally as shocking as, the Democrats and Harris and Biden and, being embraced by the likes of Dick Cheney and all the other Republican warmongers, neoconservatives that have just made their way to the, to turn the Democratic Party 180 degrees their direction. But anyway, let's move on past that. Charlamagne, the wannabe journalist, Breakfast Club. I'm watching, and it's not just on Charlamagne, because I heard other people, I'm sure this will make the rounds in the news, but this whole thing that The Atlantic put out an article talking about Trump and how, going with the whole narrative of him being a dictator, Hitler, Mussolini, and Stalin and all this other stuff, right? Their whole thing, right? Mind you, the Democrats consistently, most especially Harris, do the thing where we've got to, we don't want to sow division. We want to bring people together. And his rhetoric is this, that, and the other, and it is whatever. Meanwhile, the Democrats consistently, all of their language is stop him, must stop him, threat. They use the word threat over and over and over again. They constantly put this guy in a category of just like this monster that's coming for you and your babies. And that doesn't help the situation when you think about it. But anyway, this one here. So The Atlantic, Trump, I need the kind of generals that Hitler had. Now, if you hear that, now my first instinct, which clearly wasn't Charlamagne's instinct, but my first instinct was, he said that? Like, I got to hear him say that. Like, I need to see that video because it would have changed the whole podcast today, right? I would have led off with that. If I saw a speech with Trump somewhere is actually saying that, as much dumb crap as he says, if I heard him say that, it would be sort of like that moment when we all heard the Access Hollywood tape of him saying you can grab him by the, like that Billy Bush whole thing. Like at that moment, we all thought it was over. There's no way they're going to let this man get past anything. He's going to be totally disqualified and it's over. It's just done, right? This is that same moment for me if he had said this. Now, of course, because unlike Charlamagne, the whatever he wants. I won't use the word Charlamagne, the God. I'm just going to call him Charla, okay? Unlike Charlamagne in the Breakfast Club and that whole troupe of people, radio DJ, celebs, whatever they are, I went to do a little research. First, I wanted to read The Atlantic. I wanted to read that article. I wanted to find out where Trump actually said this. So it turns out, Charlamagne, that he never said. Let's look what happened. Let's do the quote. I need the kind of generals that Hitler had, Trump said, in a private conversation in the White House, according to two people who heard him say this. People who were totally loyal to him that follow orders. And then Peter Wolf I'm sorry, a guy Pfeiffer. This is absolutely false, Pfeiffer wrote in the email. President Trump never said this. So basically, you have a hearsay third-party source. What is it? In a private conversation, two people that were supposedly loyal to him that probably, are not now, right? They've gone the other direction somehow. Somehow it came out that, we heard him say that. That's your source. So what's your source, Charlamagne? What's your source, Atlantic? How does that work? I need to know. Because again, I'm not defending Trump or him if he said something that ridiculously, blatantly, just insensitive and terribly dumb and really foreshadowing, right? Like foretelling of his agenda and such. I'm not defending him. I'm defending journalism, real journalism, sources, integrity of that industry, and just not spreading nonsense. That's what I'm defending, right? So when people like Charlamagne get on and then come out and say that and then make it a big deal on their radio, their little radio show, and spread it as if it's gospel. And I should take that back. I shouldn't even say little radio show. It's a Breakfast Club, right? Hot 97, shout outs. Whatever. Is it Hot 97 or is it 105? It's Hot 97. New York. And they have a ton of listeners. And I probably wouldn't be wrong to say most of the listeners are a black audience. And yet you can have a bunch of people who don't pay attention, who don't read, as I continually push on this channel, this podcast. They don't read. They don't explore anything beyond CNN, ABC, NBC, and Hot 97, the Breakfast Club in the morning when they're going to work to do whatever they do. That's who they're listening to, people like this. So you would think there's a certain amount of responsibility that comes with that from Charlamagne, right? Like, hey, did he really say that? Let's find out. And even if you want to bring it up in that sly way that people like to do, where you put it out there, but you know it's not 100% factual, you could say, well, yeah, I heard he said this. Yeah, it was part of an article, but they never really confirmed it, right? But no, you don't want to say that. You'd rather just lay it out there so people think he really said that. And then it trends that Trump said this when he never really said it. Almost the same way as the time that he said there were good people on both sides. That's not the whole quote. That wasn't the whole quote. And again, for those who aren't paying attention, this is not about me defending Trump and saying, hey, he's getting a bad shake and it's an unfair deal. It's all pro-Trump. I'm not pro-Trump. I'm not supporting Trump. I'm not voting for Trump. I'm just somebody in this space now. I am here, yes. Early as it may be in this whole little thing I'm doing. I'm here to tell you that this is a huge problem. You want to talk about misinformation and disinformation? I don't have a problem with you saying dumb stuff. Leave it out there. I don't think you should be canceled. I don't think, when you say dumb stuff and you don't fact check things, I don't think we should take people down. Charlamagne could put that all over his X feed, put it all over his whatever feed. Talk about it all day on the podcast. Call him Hitler. Do what he wants. I don't think he should be removed or taken down, or they should remove the quotes. Leave him up there. But we should call attention to the fact that you're full of it. You don't know what you're talking about. Anyway, I'm done on that one. Let's move on. Okay, speaking of Trump, we got some really good news. I should say good or bad news, but something I definitely want to talk about. Probably the biggest thing related to Trump and interviews, but we'll talk about that in a minute. But I want to get into a couple of things regarding these interviews and the people who have picked on me because I've picked on Harris too much. This might be your time, to really tune in. You're gonna love this segment. But anyway, so he's been doing the rounds. Right? He was on Dan Bongino's podcast. He did the wrestler dude. I forgot his name. Big dude, like 6'7". Saw that. And PBD podcast with Patrick Bet-David. Right? Valuetainment. This guy's a mogul. Right? I love this guy. Right? PBD is no joke. Now, I just want you to. I'm just gonna let's just get into one quick. Oh, that's not it. Let's go to this one. Let's get into one quick look at like a little segment, which I thought was hysterical. Right? This is Trump on PBD.
You balance and manage tariffs so the average person is not affected by it, please.
But before I do that, let me just say, already tariffs, because to me, I think it's the most beautiful word in the dictionary. More beautiful than love, more beautiful than any word I know, tariff. It will make our country extremely wealthy again, because right now we're poor, we're broke. It'll make our country wealthy again, and it's the most powerful word there is. Okay, so just by the mere mention of the fact that I am going to put 100 to 200% tariffs on every car coming out of that factory that you just put, that car plant that's being built, actually started and stopped. The fact that I mentioned it, I said to the man the other day, because I told him, you know, this started, I want to see a great car plant. He's the best in the world at building them.
Little bit of issues there. All right. Look.
At building the biggest.
Everything's the biggest, this, that, and the other, and blah, blah, blah. But anyway, you watch somebody like Patrick Bet-David. The guy is highly successful. You know, the suits and the whole thing and the way he speaks and his business acumen and the way he articulates all of that. And he has a great podcast, a great show. He's inspirational. He's motivational. He just knows a lot of stuff. He's just dialed in on so many levels. And you get somebody like Trump, who is a former businessman, but running for the highest office in the United States. Some would say leader of the free world. And you listen to Patrick Bet-David speak, and it's just like, you know, he's talking like somebody you totally would respect in business. And then you go to Trump, and it's just, first of all, I love the word tariff. I think it's the greatest word. I like it more than the word love. He's ridiculous. It's not even close. I know nothing, mildly, about tariffs. Small amounts of business and random things, right? I was an investment banker way back. Now, I know a little bit about politics and all these things when it comes, like, if you talk, I could have a conversation with you, just freestyle anything and say, well, you know, currently our situation with tariffs, we are at this rate, we're looking to implement a certain amount of blah, 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 whatever, this way we'll have a balance. Like, I could talk like that, and you're going to be like, oh, okay, he sort of knows what he's talking about. This guy, every single interview I watched, I'm coming to my point, every single interview I've watched him on, the Dan Bongino one, this one, anytime he's talking, his rallies, every single thing he says, it's about him. It's, nobody knows nuclear like I know nuclear. Really? No one knows nuclear like you know nuclear? You're kidding, right? Someone please tell me that he knows he's kidding. It is absolutely ridiculous. Is this the Dunning-Kruger effect thing where somebody claims, you know, they know a little bit about something or just enough, but they really don't, right? They kind of come off as they know more. But in this case, I don't even think that's the case, because he sounds like he doesn't know what he's talking about, right? This is not even trickery. It's the exact same thing. I bring this point up because as much as I get on Harris for sounding like a total moron from the Muppet Show, no insult to the Muppets, with her word salads and not answering direct questions and just going all over the place, Trump does the same exact thing. Trump is like a WWE wrestler. No offense to the wrestlers. He is, I literally put him in that category now. And I think that's kind of the way to sum up his entire career, or his entire political career, from the moment he came down the gold escalator. He is a celebrity, the bad guy. I saw my wife sent me somebody put a video together with the Al Pacino's speech from Scarface about the bad guy in the restaurant. And it was all shot. It was like they black and white the video, and it was all shots of Trump walking, you know, when he came in for his indictment and all that stuff and his trial. And there was all these shots of him looking all menacing, which he always does. You ever see Trump like just kind of like mad cool? He's always looking like he's got a stick in his ass and like he wants to like argue with people. So he's like a wrestler in that regard. He looks like he's always ready to battle, and it's all about me. That's what this guy is. And wasn't he in the WWE? Didn't he do some stunt or something like that? I'm pretty sure he did. But I'm saying all this because when he speaks, he just sounds like a total idiot. And I have to wonder. There's no way that Patrick Bet-David does an interview like that, and then afterwards, when Trump leaves, behind his back, the real people of the world, the Patrick Bet-David, someone who's a legitimate businessman, a well-spoken, articulate, highly regarded, highly respected businessman, successful. Behind Trump's back, he's got to be like, this guy's a freaking moron. Like, he has to be laughing. He has to go back and watch that podcast and be like, wow, this guy is total crap for brains, right? Whether he's supporting him or not, from a policy perspective, whatever it is, whatever rationale Patrick Bet-David has for supporting him. Same thing with Elon Musk. Elon Musk, even with the Asperger's thing and the way he talks sometimes, I mean, I think he's hysterical. I don't agree with everything about Elon Musk, and he does. I drive a Tesla and I love it, but he's a freaking genius. And when you listen to him talk, especially when he's really like fired up, you can listen to him and be like, wow, he clearly knows what he's talking about, or he's even talking above the average man's head. This guy is running for president. He was already president for 4 years, and he sounds like a total idiot. And I'm waiting for someone to tell me, well, actually, that entire thing is just an act, sort of like the WWE thing. And behind closed doors, Trump sounds like freaking Obama. Nonsense. I do not believe that. I don't believe that for a second. There's no way this narcissistic thing where every single conversation, every single question comes back to him, and it's about how I've done it the best, I've done it the biggest, no one's ever done it like me. I know nuclear better than I know nuclear better than anybody. Goes into an EV car manufacturer. I know EV, no one knows EV like I do. Goes into a diamond mine. I know diamonds, no one knows diamonds like I do. I know diamonds. Lots of diamonds, lots of diamonds. They call me Trump the Diamond Heir because no one knows diamonds like I do. He can go into late night television. He'll know late night better than Jimmy Fallon and better than David Letterman back in the day. Shout out to Dave Letterman, the man. Comedy, I know comedy. No one knows comedy like I do. I'm actually pretty funny. I was told I was the funniest. Sorry, Dave Chappelle. Sorry. Yeah, apparently it's Trump. Anyway, I don't want to go too far. I had to point out that how ridiculous he is and how the people that are supporting him, that are behind him, or some of the shows he goes on, obviously like the Dan Bongino one. No, obviously, that was a straight Queens, New York kind of thing. And Dan Bongino has that whole thing. I don't even know too much about him, but he's not Patrick Bet-David, right? He's not there. Okay. The other interview he did with the other guy who actually was a wrestler, I forgot his name again. I'll probably throw it in the video somewhere, but that guy, right? Again, kind of street level. It wasn't anything high, whatever. But when he talks to Elon Musk, and Elon Musk is supporting him, and when he talks to Patrick Bet-David, it is just really hysterical. Now let's move on, because now we're going to get into the interview thing that I really want to talk about, which is this Friday, Trump and Joe Rogan. So Trump is going on Rogan on Friday, and this is going to be, I'm looking forward to this, as is a whole lot of other people. This is going to be, I guess, we bill it as the interview of the century, right? This is going to be something else. I'm a little nervous, a little worried. I'll tell you why. I believe that Rogan, although he hasn't stated political, he kind of stays away from identifying one way or the other, or actually saying who he's, supporting, which is smart on his behalf, being who he is. I still, though, believe he's probably leaning towards Trump, and I would say that his crowd is probably mostly MAGA men, right? Most of Rogan's crowd. I'm not going to bring up statistics and break it all down and look at podcast numbers and all the different demographics that he appeals to, but my guess, and I'm sure people would agree, that most of his audience are MAGA guys, right? Hunting and fishing and ice baths and working out and jujitsu and whatever. And Trump, strong. We need a strong leader. We need a man, right? I'm going to assume that that's mostly Rogan's crowd. So it's going to be interesting watching Joe Rogan, who has a reputation for being this objective guy who listens and has people on. He had Sanjay Gupta on from CNN, enemy of the state, and had Sanjay on and treated Sanjay with much respect. But he pushed back with Sanjay when, because he had an axe to grind when CNN basically did what they did to Rogan during the whole, pandemic. And Joe Rogan's choice of medications and how he handled himself and how he got better. And he pushed back, and he will get into it, but with Trump, I just don't see that he's actually going to hold Trump to task, right? Like, how much is he going to push back on Trump? How much is he going to force Trump into answering questions? I think he could do it. I don't think he should. I definitely don't think he will. But I think there's a line. And I want to know how he's going to navigate that line. I just want to see what happens, because he's got to be respectful, right? No matter who it is, whether it's Trump or Harris that goes on there, for example. And I'll get more to that in a minute. But either way, he's got to be respectful. I'm not saying or suggesting that Trump should be there and Rogan should be going at him like that, trying to, get him. I don't think he should do gotcha journalism. But I do think he should definitely he shouldn't just do a pandering interview where they come in. Here's my thing. Rogan's interviews are typically 2 hours minimum, I think. I don't think there's any shorter than 2 hours, right? I mean, they're sometimes 4 or 5 hours. A lot of times it's good stuff. I don't see Trump being there for 2 hours. I just don't see him sitting there for 2 hours. He's a presidential candidate, right? Front runner, pretty much. He's not going to sit for 2 hours anywhere. I don't care who it is. I just don't see him actually having the time. He's running around. He's here. He's there. He's got a staff of people. He's got a bunch of, he's got appointments to keep, and he's campaigning. He's going from state to state. He's doing things. I don't see him sitting with Rogan for 2 hours. And if he does 2 hours, I think maybe an hour and 45 minutes of that will be man talk. It'll just be stuff that we would talk about if we were just chilling. Like, it's going to be kind of fun conversation. I do not think Joe's going to go in on policy and all these different things and domestic and foreign policy things that Trump is looking at. I just don't think that's going to happen. I don't know. It'll be interesting. Going back to the Harris thing, I think it would be great if Harris shows up as well. I don't mean on the same podcast. I mean, wouldn't that be something? I mean, he should interview Harris as well. And I don't know if there were rumors about that, so I don't know if he reached out to her and they rejected it, or she reached out to him and he rejected it, or I don't know. But I think it would be fair and balanced of Rogan to have Trump and then next week have Harris if she's willing to do it. I highly doubt she's going to do it. And then Rogan is going to find himself in the same situation if Harris were to do it. He can't really attack her, but he's definitely got to hit her on some things, and he's got to do it in a way where he doesn't look like he's just trying to beat up on a Democratic, especially a woman candidate. It'll just be a nightmare for him. So anyway, we'll see what happens. We will see what happens. I'm looking forward to it. Friday. It's gonna be a good Friday. I'm gonna be sitting there, and I'm gonna watch that on the 4K OLED. I'm not even gonna watch it on the computer. I'm gonna watch that on the big screen because that's gonna be interesting. But anyway, I've said what I had to say on the Time to Talk podcast. I have spoken enough. In the comments below, let me know your thoughts on Eminem and Obama and that whole thing. And let me know about Trump. And if you think that I'm just totally crazy and Trump is this really eloquent, eloquent, articulate man who expresses the vision of the MAGA party and the America, and he really, really is a highly intelligent, super genius guy. You let me know down below in the comments. I'm not asking whether or not you are supporting him because of the reason, like, in other words, you think he's strong with the military, or you think he's a guy who doesn't take any crap from anybody, so that's why you're getting behind him. I'm not asking that. I'm asking, if you're a Trump supporter and you're out there and you catch this podcast, let me know in the comments if you additionally think that he's a genius guy. His mentality, the way he speaks, is really, really solid. Let me know. I'd love to hear from you. And let me know what you think about the Rogan situation. Let me know in the comments below if you're going to watch that. I'm sure you are. It's a rhetorical question. All right. I will see you on the next Time to Talk podcast. If you've not subscribed, subscribe, and like this video on the way out. And don't forget to leave your comments, and I'll see you on the next one. Peace.